Johnny comes marching home. It's a great tune, right? Free. Free music. Wow, awesome, man. That was an awesome song, right? Okay, good morning, everybody. Mark Conte reporting. Mark's in the morning. Good morning, everybody. So we're going to take a deep dive today. What is anti-fascism? What is fascism? You keep hearing these words. Are we a fascist? Is Trump the fascist? Who's the fascist? Who is the fascist and who is the anti-fascist? And what the hell are they all talking about? It's fascist shit, right? It's all very bizarre, but a very interesting thing that I'm almost envious of. A New York Post reporter by the anti-fascism. What is fascism? Shut up, Conte. Shut up, Conte. We already know you're here. So, a very interesting character. His name is Andy NGO. No-Go. Is an Asian fellow, right? And he works. Asian fellow. He's an Oriental. He works, he's a reporter for the New York Post, and he went undercover inside Chaz, the cop-free zone, for 5 days. Now, I'm envious of that because that's something that I wanted to do. I did it here in New York. I trailed one of the Antifa rallies, which started as Black Lives Matter, and then it kind of it splintered off into the Antifa smashing shit, and I got to see the whole thing. I documented it all, and I did it when it was going on here in New York. I did it only after a few days of, because it's New York and I know New York. I know how to get in and out of something fairly safely, right? And I only trailed when I knew that I could guarantee myself some degree of safety. So what this guy did, I don't know Seattle from a hole in the wall, right? So I'm not going to go to Seattle and throw myself out there and snoop around inside the fucking, Chaz zone with a bunch of people saying no video and no cameras and we don't like reporters. So I'm not gonna, at this time, I'm not gonna do that. Or maybe I'm just saying I'm not gonna do it, and I'm already planning to do it. Who knows? But the point is that this guy did a 5-day piece. He was in there 5 days, in and out, in the morning, hung out, and then he would sneak back in at night to see where the atmosphere would change. And so I want to speed read the today's news, the morning news, and I want to get to this article because it's lengthy and it's really good. It's really like he got inside Chaz, the occupied zone inside Seattle, downtown Seattle, and he talks about it. He's safely out. He's out of there. And he blew his cover. So it's a fascinating thing. And I also want to talk. I want to try to understand a little better what exactly this anti-fascist thing is. What is Antifa? Where does it come from? What's the history of it? Is it something new? Is it something threatening? Is it something real that could actually, affect politics? Could it actually flip the whole U.S. narrative on its head? And just on preliminary viewing of it, and it looks like they can. It looks like they are controlling the narrative to some degree. Now, you may disagree with that. You may say that, Trump is all powerful, and our U.S. government could never collapse. But the fact is, when people rise in mass and they don't yield, right? No, without yielding, without, you know, to the death, right? Fighting to the death, young people fighting to the death. I would say that you've got a fucking problem on your hand if you think you're going to maintain the status quo while this is happening, brewing right under your nose. Because again, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of young people marching across America, you know, chanting and on board with an anti-fascist movement, anti-racist movement, anti-capitalist movement. They're all one. That's what I want to try to explain to you. I mean, I'm kind of diving in myself, and so we'll learn together. We'll learn together. But before we do that, kindly visit marksconte.com, because that's how we keep the ball rolling, right? This is fascism, yeah, but this is capitalism per se. This is internet socialism, really. You are supplying. You take the money, the free money that the government gives you, and then you peel off a couple of crumbs so that you can get the information that you want and enjoy every morning here on Marcus Conte, here on YouTube, on my fine channel. And we're going to try to get through this without getting censored, by the way, because that shit's going on. You know, we're trying to be nice. We're trying to be truthful. I don't know any other way, really, to present the news. I read it, and if it rings true to me and people care to follow, then that's the truth. So kindly become a Patreon over here. You can thank you all to the people that have already done so. Patreon is a monthly contribution, as little as $2, as much as $1 million if you want. If you got deep pockets, why don't you sponsor? Sponsor somebody that you really like. You know what I mean? Right? I'll just short of dropping to my knees if you do it, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll fucking whatever. Tip, and the tip jar, Patreon, PayPal. That's a one-time contribution. So thank you very much for that. So let's speed read the morning news. Good morning, everybody in the chat. I know you're here. Thank you very much for joining me. Harkview Cinemas here. Bebop, Chris, Mike, Milk, excuse me. Trap House Zombie, Sea Wilk. Harkview Cinema is here, is in the house. Vinny D. Martini in the house. Don't fuck with don't be a dick, right? Don't just be a dick to me, but don't be a dick overall, and you won't get timed out. You'll get a chance to speak your piece, right? Because we do want to hear from you, but when you're a dick, you're just going to get sidelined, and you're going to have to sit there and twiddle your thumbs, right? Until your shit runs out, until you get out of jail, right? So Thomas Slater, Vinny D. Martini is here. TJ, Bill West, my brother from a different mother, is here. Jim Gerard, good morning. Einstein is Robin Hood. I think I saw Tobacco Row. Jeff is here too. Good morning, everybody. Weevil Boy, did I see Weevil Boy? I saw Weevil Boy. Pyramid 7, Weevil Boy is here. Yes, Pyramid 7. And Tracy Beana, that's not Tracy Bean, is it, Tracy? Is that you, Tracy? Lee Veltman in the house. Lee Veltman trying to get his fix on the Black Lives Matter stuff. He's trying to get educated. I know Lee has had trouble with the LARPs, so now he's seeing through the LARP, and he's joining the righteous many here on Marcus Conte YouTube channel. he's trying to shake the LARPs. And Adam Calmy. All right. So good morning, everybody. Let's get going, man. Sorry for the delay. So let's speed read the news. Trump campaign blames protests, media for modest rally crowd in Tulsa. So I watched a little bit of the Trump show in Tulsa, and he's doing his thing. It's Trump doing his thing. I can't watch much of it. I think he's just a panderer. He's pandering to his crowd. There's no substance to what he's saying. Yeah. He's very powerful. He's the president. I get it. Right? But so Trump campaign blames protests for his small crowds. Were they small crowds? There's a couple of empty seats up there. So what happened, right? What happened, Trump? I thought you were the fucking genius, man. You could draw people. No, a couple of people wearing masks. A couple of cowards, right, wearing masks. All right, there he is. All right, he's supposed to fill the joint up, right? They had overflow all set up for tens of thousands. Look at this guy taking a nap in the back row. So President Trump returned to the campaign trail Saturday, is finding a smaller than advertised crowd in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and his aides are pointing fingers. Sadly, protesters interfered with supporters, even blocking access to metal detectors, which prevented people from entering the rally. False. That is not what happened. About an hour before Trump was set to take the stage at the 19,000 seat arena. Originally, the Trumps were touting 100,000 people would show up. So what happened? This is what happened. Organized TikTok campaigns jammed up Trump rally tickets by the hundreds. So Trump, the genius, the marketing genius, got duped by a bunch of teenagers on TikTok. They all signed up for bulk. I don't know how many people this may have discouraged, but it's interesting. Social media was abuzz Saturday night with claims that President Trump opponents, many of them teenagers and K-pop fans, guaranteed that hundreds, even thousands of seats for the Tulsa rally remain empty by bulk reserving tickets they had no intention of using. Ooh, Trump got played. Trump got played. So who knows, right? Is that the reason why the seats are all empty? There's a lot of pigeon seats up here. So I don't think it's. I think it's general admission. So that would make sense that the bulk people that didn't show up would have been up here because it's general seating, first come first serve. That's how those things work. So I would say Trump got fucked, right? He got fucked by a bunch of teenagers. Right? TikTok. What is TikTok? Actually, you got rocked by teens on TikTok who flooded the Trump campaign with fake ticket reservations and tricked you into believing 1 million people wanted your white supremacist open mic enough to pack an arena during COVID, said Alessandra Ocasio-Cortez. Said that. Can't make that shit up, man. So Trump got duped. Did he get duped? I think he did. I think he got pretty, fucked over. So that's from the top. That's Trump. Some of these statistics are incredible. Over a third of Americans think civil war is likely. Civil war. That's 1 in 3 people that you run into say civil war. No one would have ever fathomed that America, the greatest country in the world with the greatest economy ever, could have been on the cusp of a civil war. Excerpt from Peter Turchin, who predicted a decade ago in The Scholar, blah, 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 who cares who you are. As race-driven anti-police protests flourish nationwide, 1 in 3 Americans are warming up to the idea the country is on the brink of another civil war. And that would be a shame. You know why? Because fascists, if you want to call Trump a fascist, Trump fits the protocol. He fits into the slot of a fascist in the sense that he vilifies minorities. And when you do that, that's a classic. That's a tactic. That's not even like it's not even truthful. Like Hitler demonized the Jews in Germany. He vilified a minority and blamed them for everything. Trump build the wall. Mexicans, Mexicans build the wall, keep them out, keep us in, or a Muslim band, or and so on and so forth. That's a trait of fascism. I'm not making that up, and I hate to use the term on Trump so heavily at this point, but it is. I'm trying to understand. What I'm trying to understand is, I'm trying to understand the mind of the anti-fascist, the Antifa people who have momentum in this country. That's what I'm trying to understand. They clearly see Trump as a fascist, right? And by vilifying minorities, that's one of the traits that they see. But they also see it as fascism and capitalism are interchangeable, right? They're the same. Capitalism is a form of fascism in their eyes. And that's what gets me excited about it, that they do get it. Right? The other part of Antifa anti-fascism is that they support organizations like Black Lives Matter, black communities, because where Trump is vilifying, the anti-fascist steps in to glorify and or carry the minority groups. It's a twisted thing. Both groups, fascist and anti-fascist, are both using minorities as political weight, political pawns in a sense. But one seeks to harm, the fascist seeks to harm, to vilify and scapegoat, whereas the anti-fascist seeks to educate the minority and bring them along for the ride. So it's really some fascinating stuff that's happening right now, and all these terms are flying around only because why? Because Antifa is on the fucking rise. I saw it with my own eyes. I got to say this, man. Let me just go a second. I saw the shit with my own eyes. I was there. I saw how this organization came into New York, and within a few days was able to take full reign of the protests, to guide those protests in a way that I had never seen, like a paramilitary kind of organization, that they guided and systematically avoided the police and made a mockery out of one of the most powerful, influential, well-organized, well-oiled police force in the world, the NYPD. And they made them look like idiots. Anybody who says that the NYPD stood down doesn't know what they're talking about. Yes, NYPD could have opened fire on the protesters. Yes, they could have killed everybody. Yeah, but that's not, anything short of that is not standing down. They were clearly outduped at every turn of the screw. The protesters led them down empty roads, and then accelerated into areas where the police couldn't catch up, and that's where they did their damage. And by the time the police got there, they had already moved on. It was amazing to watch. It was amazing to witness the skill at which they did it. And that's the only reason I'm talking about it, is because if you don't think they know what they're doing, you're wrong. If you think that it fizzled out, you're wrong. All right, so that's my point in covering this thing. There is momentum. They have it. They have the numbers. They have the momentum. They have the secret campaign. They agree on no video, no photos. They're operating in a kind of a secret hush hush society where they all show up. Very powerful, very very powerful, and should definitely be considered. So 1 in 3 think that. I would say that the ignorant masses think that it has something to do with the Civil War, meaning that it's an issue of black and white. And again, I just told you, the fascist seeks to scapegoat the minority for its own gain, for a capitalist gain. Because when you're out bashing the minority, you don't have time to look at the fact that you're getting ripped off. Blame the minority for them ripping you off. All right, the capitalist rips you off and then turns around and blames the minority, whereas the anti-fascist does the opposite. He educates the minority to say, this is what's actually happening. Join us. So whether there is a civil war or not is not really the point. I think we're already in a civil war. And here's something else, speed reading the news. A staggering number, over $18 trillion in global stimulus in 2020. 21% of world GDP was just shelled out. On Friday, we relayed the latest observation from Bank of America Chief Investment Officer, who concluded that there is just one bull market too short, namely credit. So the fact that $18 trillion has hit the market, and this is the reality. Nearly half of Americans consider selling home as COVID crushes finances. So where did the money go? Right? That's the point. That's the whole fucking thing right here. That is the whole shit. Is that we have a system of vulture capitalists that use the United States government as a blank check, take trillions of dollars, divert it into their own pocket when they're supposed to be diverting it to the people, and then fuck over the people. That's what's going on. Where did the tens of trillions with a T, $1 trillion hits the U.S. economy? You know how much money that is per person? That's like money. Like $2 trillion. But when you give it all to banks, they just hoard the money. There's no velocity of money. The money sits and it waits, and then they find new schemes to trickle it into the economy in the form of debt. That's not how the plan was supposed to go. The plan was to stimulate the economy because of this COVID-19 nonsense, and give the money back to the people. So there you go, man. Half of the people in the country are thinking about selling their homes because they can't make the mortgage. A third think that civil war is about to happen. The banks got $18 trillion in stimulus, and the regular people got fucked. What else? And then even crazier shit. This is okay. So that's for regular people. Here's the Antifa people, right? Some of them are nuts, right? What are they trying to say here? Right? What are they trying to say? Protesters tear down Francis Scott Key statue in San Francisco. See, this is the part that I don't get. I don't like. I don't understand. I wish they would stop doing it. But nonetheless, who am I? I'm just one little guy, right? And I'll put it out there, right? If there's any people, I mean, if there's Antifa watching this, if you guys even own television sets or fucking whatever, YouTube, if you're allowed to, or you're allowed to, actually watch stuff, okay, look, I'm easy to find. If someone inside Antifa wants to do an interview, let me be a mouthpiece. I would be happy to interview people. Just confirm to me that you are who you say you are, and I'd be happy to give you a platform to find out more about what it is you want to project. You could do it anonymous, cover your face, cover your eyeballs, cover your ass, do whatever you want to do. But just prove to me that you are who you are, and I will give you a platform, and I would love to talk to you about fascism versus anti-fascism and what your plans actually are. Or not giving away the secret of how you plan to do it, but certainly your vision. And I would be happy to do that. I would happy to, for whatever it's worth, I'd be happy to be your mouthpiece for that. I don't know if I could be unbiased. I have an opinion, but I would certainly, I think I'd be a good guy to ask you the questions that people want to know. They want answers to. I'd be good at giving you the questions. So San Francisco demonstrators have torn down a statue of Francis Scott, the writer of the Star-Spangled Banner. That's one of the questions I'll be asking you. Why did you fucking tear down a statue of the guy who wrote the Star-Spangled Banner? The guy was a musician, you idiot. He wrote it, and a slave owner. Well, a lot of people owned slaves at the time. Get over it. Get over it. So you got to wonder, right? What is Antifa's motive in going down the racist path? Are they doing it to win support with the minority? See, the anti-fascist, for right now, arguably fascism is in control. If you view the vulture capitalists, the banks, the oligarchs, the monopoly, as a fascist regime, a regime that seeks to create a single party and ultimately militarize it so that all power consolidates under one voice, a dictator. If you don't see that, well, I guess I would say that that's what it is. I forgot what my point was, but I forgot what my point is. Is that the fascist, right? See, that's what the fascist is, and the anti-fascist wants to break that apart. I got lost in my thought. I apologize. So anyway, so just moving right along. Protesters tear down Francis Scott's statue. Despicable, horrible. Why are you tearing down the guy's statue, right? Other craziness. Look at this. Oh, that's crazy. Skin whitening creams will stop being produced by Johnson & Johnson. Asian people love that shit. They love to put whitening creams. Hindu too, Indians. They love that a whitening cream. So whitening creams are now racist, according to Johnson & Johnson, is permanently whitening out some of its inventory. The pharmaceutical and consumer product Behemoth announced on Friday that it would halt selling skin products pitched as dark spot erasers, but that have been utilized as skin lighteners. Wow. Conversations over the past few weeks highlighted that some products names on our Neutrogena and Clean and Clear dark spot reducer products represent fairness or white as better than our own unique skin tone, reads a company statement. So in other words, the idea is that the allegation is that Johnson & Johnson is selling the idea that white is better. White skin is better than blotched black skin. This was never our intention. Healthy skin is beautiful skin. Okay. Although not distributed in America, product lines Neutrogena Fine Fairness and Clear Fairness were sold in the Middle East and Asia. That's right, because Asian countries love that shit. You know, Asian women will stay out of the sun to have a pale complexion is considered sexy. Nearly 6,300 tons of skin lightener was sold worldwide in 2019. So just see the insanity of it. Johnson & Johnson folding, large corporations folding to this notion that even their products could be racist, like Rice Krispies, fucking Snap, Crackle, and Pop are 3 white dudes, as opposed to the Black Monkey of Cocoa Puffs. Black Monkey, that's black, that's racist, that's black cereal, as opposed to Rice Krispies, 3 white dudes. Snap, Crackle, Pop, they're white. White milk and white cereal, and then there's the black cereal, Cocoa Pops. So Cocoa Puffs. So skin whiteners are out, according to Johnson & Johnson. So let's talk about Antifa. Half an hour in already. So Marcus Conte reporting on the movement in Seattle, Jazzville, CHOP, whatever you want to call it, right? Undercover. I'm going to get to the article. It's going to be a while, but we're going to get there. So just preliminary, one dead after shooting in Seattle Anonymous Zone. There's no details of this. There was apparently a fight. Somebody got shot. A lot of the nonsense happens late at night. Police investigating shooting at 10th Avenue and East Pine. You don't know if it's an agitator. You don't know what it is. But for the most part, people are reporting that even the article that I'm going to read are reporting fairly peaceful street fair-like atmosphere during the day, and it gets a little seedy at night, which we'll talk about. So I'm going to blow this article off as saying you got no evidence of anything. Stop trying to pin it on the Antifas at this point. Get some evidence, and then let's talk about it. So what else we got here? So even the UN backed pro-Antifa tweet and then got a backlash for it and pulled the tweet. So here's the tweet. UN experts expressed profound concern over a recent statement by the U.S. Attorney General describing Antifa and other anti-fascist activists as domestic terrorists, saying it undermines the rights of freedom of expression and of peaceful assembly in the country. It does. It truly does. What is freedom of speech? What is it? That's exactly what it is. It's standing up against something else. You can do that. That's called, the right to assemble, the right to free speech. But the UN backed off of it. Why did the UN back off of it? It was just fucking UN is probably in the pocket of the U.S. Whatever. I don't know why they did it, but nonetheless, they put up a tweet, and Zero Hedge is reporting that they pulled the tweet down. So we got to watch the UN now. Right? So I've been doing this. I've been reading this book, right? I just yesterday I found it. So I'm trying to understand. Again, this is the point. Is I'm trying to understand Antifa, the Anti-Fascist Handbook, and it's written by this guy Mark Bray. I'm going to try to reach out to this guy, see maybe I can get him to tell me more about it. Do a little clip on him, Mark Bray. And he wrote this 100-page, I don't know how many page book, 200-something page book on the history of anti-fascism, and he goes deeply into it. It's not something new. It stems out of Germany. I'll have more to say about that as I go on. Here's their logo, right? And it's one is communism, one is socialism, and it's which is in front of which. There's an argument. Is the red flag the smaller in front of the black, and boom. So they have their own logo, you know. So let's look at this. So this is Antifa. Antifa is a political movement in Germany composed of multiple far-left anonymous militant groups and individuals who describe themselves as anti-fascist. According to the Federal Office of the Protection of the Constitution and the Federal Agency of the blah, 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 the use of the epithet fascism against opponents and the understanding of capitalism as a form of fascism are central to the movement. I read that again. The use of the epithet fascism against their opponents is the understanding of capitalism as a form of fascism are central to the movement. We can end right there, right? So there you got it. There you have it, right? That when they're calling the fascist a fascist and people recoil and say, oh, Trump's not a fascist, according to them, they are. According to their definition of lumping capitalist, vulture capitalism, capitalism is the final step. Actually, fascism leads to capitalism. Capitalism ultimately leads to a fascist state, where corporations and government become one. It's one party. It's one corporate entity. It's one body, right? Corporations buying off politicians, controlling government. How do you dispute that in our country? That's not what's happening. Corporations don't own the politicians and control the narrative, control our lives, and control 99% of the wealth. How is that disputable? It's not. It's not disputable. So by definition, the Antifa have it right. They have the definition right that fascism, and as I said about the race, is that the fascist seeks to vilify certain minorities so that they could, fill the power vacuum. While you're hating on the minority, they're stealing your money. Right? They got their hand in your pocket, and while they're picking your pocket, they're saying, "Oh no, it's the immigrant over there. He's going to jump over the wall and get you. It's the Muslim, the lady with the rag over her face. She's going to blow herself up in your hometown." I vilify the scapegoat, the pot washer in the fucking restaurant, the guy from Ecuador who's trying to feed two kids and wash pots in the Mexican restaurant. Vilify him. He's taking your job. That's what the fascist does, according to them. The use of the epithet, I want to read it one last time. The epithet fascism against opponents, the understanding of capitalism as a form of fascism are central to the movement. The Antifa movement has existed in different eras and incarnations. The original organization, called Antifa, was the long German word in Antifa Chescha Actan. I tried. 1932 to 1933, set up by the then Stalinist Communist Party of Germany. Look, I read this stuff, right? I'm trying to read this guy's book, and it's a fucking head spinner of facts and incidences in Germany as the Nazis started to rise, right? And so this anti-fascist movement was something that stood in the way of Hitler and the rise of fascism in Germany. So that's where the term comes from. That's where the idea of Antifa, literally the word, comes from the anti-fascist movement of 1932 and 1933 in Stalinist communist Germany. The rise of a fascist, the fascist. So are they communist supporters? Well, in a sense, they are. Whatever that means at this point, we don't really know what communism or socialism really means anymore. We know it as a way of, giving back the ways and means and wealth of a country to the people. If that's a bad thing, then fucking sign me up, right? But so anyway, so that's kind of what it means. What is it in the U.S.? Antifa is an anti-fascist political movement in the United States comprised of diverse array of autonomous groups that aim to achieve their objectives through the use of both nonviolent and violent direct action rather than through police reform. Antifa political activists engage in protest tactics as digital. Here's the other thing, right? Here's the other thing to understand, right? You say to yourself that when you look at when you analyze Antifa, you see there's Black Lives Matter. You see that there is. I'm wondering. I got to look down and see if we're even still live anymore. If I'm talking to myself, I guess we're still here. So and thank you very much for. I see the chat. Chat's moving, right? So, I forgot what I was going to say. That it was an important point. I flashed over here to give you an important point. Oh, that you say to yourself with the anti-fascists that there's so many different factions of what they represent. There's Black Lives Matter. There's the Eat the Rich crowd, right? Which I would probably be standing with, right? That they see the capitalist as the fascist. They see the racist, the far right racists as a tool of the fascist, right? And there's all these. There's gay rights in there. There's like queer Antifa and so many variations of this movement within a movement. And you say, well, how could that possibly be? How can they all have different opinions, different political opinions and stance, and still survive and still operate as a functioning militia? And the answer is very simple. And the answer was answered to me. I did a video standing in Union Square Park, and I watched a bunch of young people. It didn't come from me. It came from this young guy that said it. He said, stop paying attention to all the things that are different about us and focus on the collective, the enemy, right? We have a common enemy. That's what he said. Focus on, if you eliminate the common enemy, if you eliminate the fascist, the capitalist, the vulture capitalist, the oligarchy, right? The politicians that are owned by this entity, then you win. Everybody wins. The black wins, the gay wins, the fucking poor people win. Everybody wins in that scenario. So rather than, when we're together, rather than talk about what we fight for, what am I fighting for, is relative to what you're fighting for, because we are fighting against a common enemy. And that, my friends, that to me is fucking brilliant. Right? That is the single problem in this country. Even in the Bernie Sanders campaign, everybody had a different opinion. They couldn't agree. They couldn't agree on that one thing. Focus on the enemy. Forget about what you want, and you know what I mean. So it's a very powerful point. So when you now say, well, they're all mixed up and they don't know what they believe in and they have no leader, I'm telling you that it doesn't matter. That they are on the same page in terms of who they fight against. Right? And that's powerful. That is an opposite way of operating. Right? We go after a common enemy. Ooh. So let's talk about this article. Right? So here we go. So we're almost an hour in. I'm just getting to the article. But this is pretty good. My terrifying 5-day stay inside Seattle's cop-free Chaz. So now that I've given you the background, is the best I could, right? And in a short, overnight, I just started looking at it. We're going to look at this guy's experience inside. Here's some of the photos. I guess these are some of the photos he made. These are from outside. I guess anybody could have grabbed these photos. But Seattle on June 8th, Seattle police fanatically loaded what they could from the East Precinct onto trucks and cars. Within hours, they boarded up and abandoned the station. That night, left-wing protesters from Black Lives Matter and Antifa declared ownership of the 6-block neighborhood in the middle of the Pacific Northwest largest city. They named their new territory the Capitol Hill Anonymous Zone, Chaz. No laws or rules applied here, except for one: no cops allowed. That's another thing of fascism relies on police force, brute force, brutality. They are all unified in eliminating the police for that reason. The fascist needs the police to crack heads. The anti-fascist understands that and seeks to dissolve that arm of fascism. That's why they target the police, right? To destabilize the fascist. That's why, right? So that's the reason. During 5 undercover days and nights in the zone, I witnessed a continued experiment in anarchy, chaos, and brute force criminality. Did he really? In order to avoid being exposed as a journalist, several reporters have been barred and expelled. Again, New York Post reporting, but let's hear him out. I slept and showered outside the zone. Those inside have no showers, but they do have portable bathrooms. I want to touch on that for 1 second. The people inside the zone have no showers. What does that tell you? It tells you that there are showers within the zone. It's a 6-block city. It's 6 city blocks in downtown fucking Seattle. Right? The homes have showers. But what does it tell you about their courtesy and their non-willingness to throw out innocent people into the street? They could easily take over apartments and storefronts and facilities that have showers. They could find a gym somewhere and ransack it and use the facility for, if they're not doing it already. But it speaks to something about they're willing to not even shower and bathe and use porto stands and not kick out the people that are there. It's a nonviolent. It's in a sense that represents nonviolence, is what it said to me when I read it. So this reporter, I slept and showered outside the zone. I took meals and most of my water breaks elsewhere because I was reluctant to remove my mask and risk being recognized. Every day I entered the zone twice through its semi-porous borders, once in the early afternoon and again after sundown, staying until the wee hours. Crime has surged inside and outside the zone. Where's your evidence? On Saturday morning, a shooting erupted. Okay, I don't even want to talk about this because we don't know who the shooting is. That left at least one person dead and injured near a border checkpoint. Shootings happen every day, motherfucker. Police were reportedly met with resistance when they tried to get to the victim, who apparently was taken in private cars to a hospital. Okay. On Thursday, police arrested Robert James after he left the Chaz. He is accused of sexually assaulting a deaf woman who was lured into a tent. It's just you're pointing out psychopaths and potential, variety of idiots that are in any society, right? So far, Police Chief Carmen Best has stated the police response time to 9/11 calls in the surrounding areas have more than tripled. Okay, so an uptick in crime. He's saying, this reporter. Emergency calls, which often means somebody's being assaulted. Sometimes it's a rape, sometimes it's a robbery. All right, I want to get on with this. Various Occupy-type protests have occurred across the U.S. since the original Occupy Wall Street in 2011. But Chaz is nothing like the mostly peaceful tent city in privately owned Zuccotti Park that was corralled and closely monitored by the NYPD. That's an opinion, and that's false. How do you know how Chaz is being monitored? What the fuck do you know? You don't think that there's police inside of Chaz? Are you out of your fucking mind? They probably have entire apartments and entire floors of buildings full of cops ready to come and start cracking heads, right? Living in there. Are you stupid to think that there's no police monitoring of a movement like this inside of a major city? Are you out of your fucking mind? So that's bad reporting right there. I would totally disagree that Zuccotti Park Occupy Wall Street was any less monitored than Chaz's. Chaz occupants ranging from several hundred to 10,000 depending on the day, with many openly armed, control all the Capitol Hill neighborhood near downtown. The neighborhood is the heart of Seattle's gay and counterculture district and is densely filled with businesses and apartment buildings. Chaz now claims all of it. But meanwhile, they won't take a shower. They won't ransack people who live there. They won't drive them out. They just let them be. They leave them alone. Before the takeover, violent clashes between rioters and police defending the East. So far, his article is just pure opinion. What did you see? What did you actually see when you're there? He's getting to it. He gave you the opinion first. Before the takeover, violent clashes between rioters and police defending the East Precinct resulted in dozens of officers injured by rocks and other projectiles. Protesters and rioters complained of police brutality, leading Seattle Mayor Jenny Durkin and Chief Best to ban cops from using tear gas, pepper spray, and flashbangs for 30 days. So there's none of that shit going on right now. But that doesn't, again, there's definitely police presence inside. Don't kid yourself. Chaz is having reverberating effects elsewhere. In the early hours of Thursday morning, Antifa and other left-wing protesters established an anonymous zone in downtown Portland, Oregon. Great. So now they're setting up another one. They stole city and business property to build a wall. At least one protester was seen carrying a rifle. So these are open carry areas. You're allowed to. The area was later cleared by police, but far-left activists are determined to try again. Protesters in Nashville and other cities have attempted to recreate their own autonomous zone, modeling after Chaz. So what does it tell you? It tells you that the movement is growing in strength and girth. It's growing. What started as simple walking around, protesting, smashing windows, is now becoming highly organized and is metastasizing across the country. Right? And what's coming next? It's in the title. I gave it to you right away. The title that the people that fail to obey, to fail to comply with the needs and the wants of the people are going to be met with by any means necessary. Right? That's what they're saying. So it's spreading out. Whew, it's a lot, man. There's a lot. This guy wrote a lot, man. So there's a lot to it. In Seattle, as soon as police evacuated from the station nearly 2 weeks ago, mass protesters stole city property, barricades, and fencing. I want us to talk about this guy, right? This is the rapper, Raz Simone. I'll say this. If you think that this idiot is running the show, you are an idiot. You should join. You should stand right next to him and get his autograph and ask him, hey, can you do a rap for me? The people running the Antifa movement are in hiding. They're secret. They don't go around, saying I'm the leader. They don't do that. They do the opposite. They hide. They don't want their faces and their names out there, but they're running the show. So this guy is a throwaway in my view. Yeah. Raz, go get him. He's nobody. Good morning, everybody. I'll just take a break for a second. Martini. Good morning, everybody in the chat. Thank you very much for joining me. I'm trying to get this. I'm trying to get through this. An understanding of what is happening in Chazville, in this country, with this fascist versus anti-fascist movement. It is clear that the people inside Chaz believe that our government is a fascist organization, a fascistly run government, because capitalism and fascism are interchangeable, and that the fascists, the government runners of this country, clearly and unequivocally scapegoat minorities as a tool to seize power. So is the anti-fascist? You almost ask yourself, what side are you on? Are you a bootlicker and you're just going to go along with the government until they start their war, and then you have another World War II where all energies go to the war machine, and then it's all falls under one dictator / president, the ruling elite win, and the war machine starts and they start banging the war drum? Is that because that's coming? That's the wet dream of corporate America, of the fascist nation. War is great for business. Everybody cooperates. Everybody fights for a common cause. It's like a well-oiled machine. Everybody's on the same page. Because we're defending our rights. We're defending our homeland. But meanwhile, they created the monster. So anyway, despite the group's link to violent extremism, its armed members were celebrated in the Chaz for protecting the new denizens. The head of Chaz's security is a short female named Creature. She and the rest of her team communicated with walkie-talkie devices and earpieces. Some of them openly carry rifles, handguns, batons, or knives. Again, this is a guy who was there for 5 days, so we're going to listen to what he has to say. Their operating base is in the open-air eating section of the Rancheros Tacos Mexican restaurant. Signs posted all over their base declare, "No photos, no videos." Another sign lists Venmo names of donations. Venmo names, I don't know what that means. But right there, no photos, no videos. And I experienced that while I followed the group. A lot of people were saying, yo, turn that shit off. But I did it anyway. Though Chaz claims to have no rules, it quickly developed a complex code of conduct that varied from zone to zone and even time of day. For example, those in the garden area, who are mostly white, need to make sure that they do not recolonize the space. Too white, right? You got to leave it for blacks. Mainstream media reports have focused on the block party atmosphere of the occupation, repeating a talking point that Seattle mayor said. She, along with fellow Democrats Jay Inslee, the governor of Seattle, have gone to great lengths to emphasize the peaceful nature of the occupation. For media crews that arrive during the day, that is certainly what they will see. People have barricades in the street, barbecues in the street. Many bring their children to make street art. People walk their dogs. That's been my experience too. In New York, the daytimes were wonderful, glorious, fantastic, like a love fest, walking, chanting, and then comes the nighttime and shit changes. And it's just start breaking shit. So that is consistent with the behavior. Come one, come all, join us in the daytime, and then get ready for the real shit at night. But at night, a whole different side of Chaz emerges. Lacking agreed-upon leadership, those who have naturally risen to the top have done so with force or intimidation. Give me an example. For example, rapper Raz Simone, real name Solomon Simone, patrols Chaz on some nights with an armed entourage. Simone, originally from Georgia, has an arrest record for child cruelty and other charges. He usually conducts his patrols carrying a long semi-auto rifle and sidearm. Last weekend, a live stream recorded Simone handing another man a rifle. So where is the force and intimidation? By patrolling your homeland? That's force and intimidation? So this guy's jaded so far. Not everyone in Chaz recognizes Simone's police-like presence, but no one is willing to stand up to him and his group. There have been consequences to those perceived as challenges or threats. Independent Los Angeles journalist recorded Simone and his crew in the early hours of Monday morning. He was spotted by one of Simone's men who manhandled him and demanded he turn over his mobile device. Simone's team chased the reporter and tried to drag him to the security tent. He escaped by hiding in a construction site outside Chaz until police responded. They have a rule, asshole. No video and no fucking photos, right? You broke their rule. They have a rule. It's not law. That's not lawless. That's having a rule. We don't want our photos handed over to the corrupt media so they can exploit us. And that's a rule. And you broke their rule. And this guy policed the broken rule. Heroic. So anyway, man. So those unfortunate enough to have homes or businesses within Chaz, an estimated 30,000 residents, have no say over their new overlords. Residents have discreetly voiced their concerns to local media. Gunshots and screams of terror at night have been reported. Go to fucking, I lived in Bushwick. You hear that every night. You come home, if you stick your head out the window at 6 o'clock in the morning, you'll hear gunshots. A resident of an apartment building came out twice to ask protesters to leave the alley where the entrance is. They brushed him off. Tisk, tisk. Every business and property inside Chaz has been vandalized with graffiti. Most messages say the same variation of Black Lives Matter, George Floyd, but other messages call for the murder of police. Most businesses are boarded up. ACAB, all cops are bastards, and Antifa logo is written over them. So again, we see, I had told you in New York that you have to watch the tags. You got to watch the graffiti tags. And they are consistent. Black Lives Matter, ACAB, and such. Businesses outside Chaz are also suffering. Last week, the Trader Joe's in Capitol Hill announced it's shutting down. Well, it's too bad. Move on. There's a lot. There's still a lot here. Let me try to skim this. How much time do we have? We still have time. In the midst of the restlessness and drug abuse that arises in and around Chaz, acts of kindness and community support also flourish. Oh, good. Thanks for mentioning. Donations from outside have poured in every day, supplying the camp with multiple food and supply stations. The No Cop-Out Co-op, the largest supply booth, distributes raw meat and fresh vegetables. They have alms for the poor. Right? Next to the tents is Cal Anderson Park. Zins have. I'm starting to lose my shit right now. I want to get to the last line. Right? This is the last line. What will happen if demands aren't met? That's the real question. Antifa has demands. What will happen if demands aren't met? Jaden Grayson, a young black woman who has developed a large following in Chaz, told the filmmaker, quote, and this is on my thumbnail, respond to the demands of the people or prepare to be met with any means necessary. It's not even a warning. I'm letting people know what comes next. Wow. Whew. I'm letting people know what comes next. There is a plan. It's just like, are their plans effective? Do their plans work? Well, I saw them elude the police in New York City like a fine-tuned, paramilitary organization, like fucking Cherokee Indians, right? The way they packed up and moved and kept it moving. They knew exactly what they're doing. And then suddenly after that, they set up settlements. So where does this settlement lead? Right? Are they yielding? I don't think so. Are they squirreling themselves in? Are they boxing themselves into a small area? I would suggest that yes, they are, but they're still mobile. Notice that they're not moving into apartments. They're still living in tents. They're still a mobile unit. So will they move out of these Occupy zones at some point? We don't know. We don't know for sure what the plan is. But it's clear that the anti-fascist, this movement seeks to disrupt. As you saw with Trump's rally, you see how they can disrupt the rally, how they could shake the fascist at its roots. We're going to smash your windows, the windows of your corporations that are draining this country and keeping the whole thing in check. Right? That's what's going on there. Right? So, right? Knowing the danger. So to sum up this guy's piece, right? It is interesting some of the things he saw. Look, giving away hot food, dragging some guy out for being a dick. You got to always drag out a dick. There's always going to be dicks in the crowd, man. So anyway, so that's my assessment of this. Marcus Conte reporting on this very, very wild and this wild ride, this Antifa stuff, right? So it's fascinating, right? So, I bet you didn't know before you watched this, because I didn't know before yesterday, like the difference between fascist and why when they say Trump is a fascist, what they really mean is that Trump is an oligarch. Trump is part of the capitalist system that is oppressing its people. Are people being oppressed? Do we agree? If you're watching this channel, I think you agree that upwards of 90% of the people are controlled by less than, a percent or two of the ruling class. So you wouldn't keep listening to my bullshit. I know you come here to unwind it. But I think that we have a very interesting movement in terms of Antifa to watch. I would love to go there and see it. I fail to see I fail to see the value in that right now. And what would I see? What would I see? Organizing, young people organizing and trying to promote some kind of secret thing and such. We already know that. We already see what's going on. What I would like to know is, I would like to talk to the people that are running the joint, if that's even possible. And they can always reach out. As I said earlier, you can reach out to me if you are Antifa and if you are in this Chaz zone and you would like to get your voice out there in a non-biased way in an open forum. Certainly reach out to me, and I would be happy to be your host for that thing. So thank you. $10 entry fee. Bill West says $10 entry fee. No, it's only if you're white. They have wacky rules. I agree. There's some. I went over the contradictions the last time. I talked about the contradictions, right? And I'll say it again in closing, is that although there are many opinions and counter revolutionary ideas within this movement of Antifa, that some believe it's about black and white, some believe it's about corporate green versus no green, oligarchy versus monopoly versus, poor people. Some believe that it's about, it's quasi-military, power. It's some other version of fascism. Whatever people believe is irrelevant. It doesn't matter. What they all agree on, despite all of their conflicting ideas, is they agree on who the enemy is, which is super powerful. They agree that the capitalist system is the root of the problem, right? Because if you solve that problem, if you diffuse the, quote, fascist regime, then all the people in the populace will share in the wealth that is taken from those entities. You dig? So they have a common enemy. So anyway, thank you all for joining me. And that was a lot. I hope that was good. I hope that was helpful, man. Because that's what I'm here to do, man. I'm just here to help, man. Thank you, everybody in the chat, for joining me. Thank you, Bebop, Bill West, Cameo Masso, Chris Mike, FL Treasure. Is this too loud? FL Treasure, George's son. We still know who George is. Harkview Cinema, JB, Jason Walsh, Lee Veltman was here. I don't know if he's still here. Mary, Mr. Nobody, Mr. No Censorship, Pyramid 7, Sterling Price, my brother from a different mother's here. TJ, Tobacco Road, Jeff is here as well. Vinny D. Martini on the wrench. Don't be a dick in the chat. You won't get timed out. Vandaloo, Weevil Boy, Zai Forget about it. So thank you all for joining me, man. Marcus Conte reporting. And I don't know. It's hard to say, man. I don't know where this all spins, but we're going to find out. It's cool, man. Thanks, everybody, man. Thank you very much for joining me. You could be a fascist and an anti-fascist, but don't be a dick. Don't be a dick. Peace, everybody.